Baby, listen to this. Let me read you a piece of this. Welcome to 2033. What the world could look like in 10 years, according to more than 160 experts. Global Foresight 23. By Mary Kate Outward, Peter Enlight, Yuri Friedman, and Paul Kilstra. Explore findings on 1. Potential Russian collapse. 2. New nuclear powers. 3. Conflict over Taiwan. 4. U.S.-Chinese decoupling. 5. Future American power. 6. Peak carbon emissions. 7. Pandemic and economic crises. 8. Democracy versus autocracy. 9. Democracy's dangerous decade. 10. Global security architect. Prepare for Russia's crack up. Plan for a Chinese military assault on Taiwan. Temper the optimistic about peak carbon emissions. Brace for further spread of nuclear weapons. Buckle in for every greater global volatility ahead. These are just some of the forecasts that emerged in the past fall when the Atlantic Council's Scrowcroft Center and Strategy and Security surveyed the future, asking leading global strategic and foresight practitioners around the world to answer our most burning about the biggest drivers of change over the next 10 years. I'm so burning. Want to know about the change in the next 10 years? The total of 167 experts shared their insights on what geopolitics, climate change, technical disruption, and global economy, social and political movements, and other domains could look like decades from now. But y'all, it won't be nothing that I ain't been telling y'all this. I tell y'all about these type of things all the time. Although respondents are largely citizens of the United States, roughly 60% of those polled, their nationalities are spread across 30 countries, with European citizens constituting the majority of non-Americans. In the following analysis, all geographic distinctions among surveyed are based on what individual identifies as their role or primary nationality, not on countries where they currently reside. Respondents are also employed in a range of fields including the private sector, 26%, academic or educational institution, 21%, nonprofits, 19%, government, 16%, and independent consultants or freelancers, 13%. They are quite evenly distributed across categories of 35, with less than 10% of ages of 22 and 35, but when they skew heavily male, a result that will aim to rectify in future surveys. So what will the world look like in 2033? Here is the biggest findings from the survey. Russia as we know it may survive coming decades. And I'll read a little bit of this. One of the most surprising takeaways was how many respondents pointed to a potential Russian collapse over the next decade, suggesting that Kremlin's war against Ukraine could participate hugely consequential upheaval in a great power with the largest nuclear weapons arsenal on the planet. Nearly half, 46% of the respondents expects Russia to either become a failed state or broke by 2033. More than a fifth, 21%, consider Russia the most likely country to become a failed state within the next 10 years, which is more than twice percentage for the next common choice, Afghanistan, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Even more striking, 40% of the respondents expect Russia to break up internally by 2033 because of their revolution, civil war, political disgration, disintegration, or some other reason. Europeans are particularly pessimistic about Russia breaking up. 49% of them foresee such an event compared to 36% of Americans. Okay, then it has a graph that you could go check out or whatever. 2. We're heading for more countries with nuclear weapons and less cooperation on stopping the spread of the weapons, but not necessarily actually nuclear use. Barely 1 in 8 respondents, 37%, stated that no additional country will obtain nuclear weapons in the coming decade, and more than 3/4 named of a specific country that they expect to become a nuclear weapons state during this period. Iran was most often cited as a nuclear armed state by 2033. 68% of the respondents. The outcome that the Atlantic Council's Matthew Crowing, in a separate assessment, argues is highly likely to occur as soon as this coming year, but Iran may not be alone. Respondents who expect some expansion of the nuclear weapons club believe, on the average, that 1.6 countries will join within the next 10 years. Let's see what else we can find. Okay, so expected Chinese military offensive against Taiwan. Recently, U.S. officials have been warning that China could launch a military campaign to reunify Taiwan with the mainland on a faster than anticipated schedule between now and 2027. And our survey's results report that dire assessment, fully 70% of respondents agree that just 12% strongly agree that China will seek to forcibly retake Taiwan within the next 10 years. Only around 2 in 10 don't believe that such a scenario will occur. Intriguingly, among the government employees, the figures rise to their near certainty. 88% agree that China will lose against Taiwan. Just 8% disagree, and the remaining 4% don't know. 4. U.S.-Chinese decoupling may not be as dramatic as we think it be. There has been a lot of talk about decoupling, of efforts of disentangle the U.S. and China economies, but the experts we surveyed deliver clear verdict. Full-blown decoupling is very unlikely. Y'all, what the hell is decoupling? Despite the geopolitics, you know I don't know what I'm reading. Despite all the geopolitical, y'all know what I'm trying to say, tensions and tit-for-tat trade restrictions between the two countries, the most likely outcome, according to roughly 40% of respondents, is that U.S. and Chinese economies will be somewhat less independent in 2023 than they are today. More of those who believe China will use force against Taiwan. 60% predict that at least some decline in economic interdependence, and surprisingly low number given to how drastic a move on a Chinese military campaign against Taiwan could be. Full 22% of those expecting Chinese use of force against Taiwan believe that U.S. and Chinese economies will become more independent by 2023. Let's see. The United States will remain powerful but not hegemonic, Hegemonic, hegemonic. Respondents generally express their belief in the United States. What the hell is hegemonic mean? The United States will remain powerful but not hegemonic. I don't even know what we read. I don't know what hegemonic means. Response generally expressed a belief in United States saying power over the next 10 years through many envisioned a country preeminent in some domains of the national clout, but not others. 7 in 10 foresee the United States continuing to be world's dominant military by 2033, a notable percentage given concerns about China military modernization, you know, we modify stuff, and the United States losing its military edge. Will about half think the United States will remain its technology dominance over everyone else? Just 3 in 10, however, believe the United States will be the world's dominant player in diplomacy, and only slightly more than 3 in 10 believe will be the world's dominant economic power. All of which raises a question. If the United States loses economic and diplomatic dominance, can its other advantage be maintained? After all, military power depends on substantial degree and strong alliances and economic and technology prowess, while technology power relies in large parts of country capacity to commercialize technology advances. Two minority groups of respondents have sharply divergent views about American power. The first group, constituting 19% of the survey pool, are premised believing one or more of the following will be true by 2033. The United States will be a failed state. It have broken apart, or it will no longer be the world's dominant power. In the category, our survey covered military, economic, diplomatic, or technological. Notable, roughly the same portion of respondents, 7%, listed in the United States and Pakistan as the country most likely to fail over the next 10 years. 14% of Americans respond to 17% of European response fall into this group. The most striking answers are from those who are the citizens of countries outside United States and Europe. Over half of these are in promiscuous category. The analyst does not treat them generally as a category because they are too diverse to characterize and too few to rely on statistically. And then I'm going to let y'all read the rest of it. And then the rest, it talks about the global cooperation on the climate set. This is kind of small. Climate change is the issue most likely to shoot up in the international policy agenda in the coming decade. According to respondents, a plural 42% believe it will be garner the biggest increase in an international collaboration, comfortably ahead of second place public health, cited by 25%. So I was just get ready for even greater global volatility. I don't know, more crisis. One remarkable survey result is how many respondents expect the world to face additional economic and public health perils in the coming decade. 76% predict another global economic crisis on a scale of the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis by 2033. A further 19% say that there will be two or more such crises. 49% foresee another global pandemic with the scale of impact of COVID-19 breaking out by 2033, with an additional 16% anticipating two or more pandemics. The results might reflect recent bias, where recent experiences of crisis leaves us more concerned about others occurring. But they may also suggest more troubling trends, including a common era, where am I at, y'all? My light had went out. And this one, it went out. Oh, it was getting so good. Okay, well, the results might reflect recent bias where recent experience of crisis leave us more concerned about others occurring, but they may also suggest more troubling trends, including a coming era of inten- more frequent and intense public health emergencies, rather than one in a century pandemics, as well as a return of historical economic patterns after a relative calm of post World War II decades between 1908 and 1946. Five global recessions brought about greater declines in global per capita gross domestic product than did 2008 and 2009 crisis, amounting to more than one per decade. 8. The tug of war between democracy and autocracy will persist, with democracy potentially losing some ground. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons like why we could be in trouble or whatever. Democracies will face a difficult decade of system dangers. Let's see what the other one is. Internationally, security organizations are likely to remain largely unchanged even as the world confronts unprecedented changes and challenges. So yeah, y'all, I was just researching this tonight. Yeah, so if you want to read this, go to atlanticcouncil.org or something, but this is Welcome 2033 Global Foresight 2023. Yeah. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. Wow.